Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram at Q and Review. That's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com. That's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling us on 0141 772 3979. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, April 15. Former Rangers pair power Indian club to domestic double. Report by Robbie Hanratty. What looked from the outside like a left-field move to India has turned into a trophy-laden success story for former Rangers forward Greg Stewart. The 35-year-old added another piece of silverware to his collection at the weekend, playing a game-changing role as Mohan Bagan supergiant completed an impressive domestic double in dramatic fashion. Stewart, who left Ibrox in 2021 after lifting the Scottish Premiership title under Steven Gerrard, came off the bench with his side trailing Bengaluru 1-0 in the Indian Super League Cup final. And while former Hibernian striker Jason Cummings, who also had a short stint at Rangers, had drawn Bagan level, it was Stewart's moment of quality that ultimately turned the tie on its head. Stewart rolled back the years with a trademark piece of composure and vision, teeing up Australian international Jamie McLaren for a 96-minute winner to spark wild celebrations. The victory sealed a memorable cup and league double for Mohan Bagan, who had already secured the ISL Shield, awarded to the league's regular season winners a few weeks earlier. Stewart had his fingerprints all over that triumph too, scoring in the decisive match to wrap up top spot. While his future at Bagan remains uncertain, with his contract due to expire this summer, and injury concerns reportedly fueling doubts over a renewal, his impact on the pitch has not gone unnoticed. Supporters were quick to pay tribute to the former Ibrox man online after another decisive contribution in a big moment. For a player who was always highly rated for his technical quality during his time in Scotland, Stewart's move to India may have raised a few eyebrows at the time, but the switch has proven to be anything but obscure. Now, with more league and cup honours on his CV, Stewart has underlined that his winning mentality, sharpened at Ibrox, is still very much intact. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, April 15. Nick Rogers says, Rory McIlroy fulfills destiny with Masters win for the ages. Well, have you emerged from behind the couch yet? Come on, out you come, and you can stop peering through your fingers too. Rory McIlroy did win the Masters and the career Grand Slam. Read that back again if you want. It finally happened. It was some old Sunday at Augusta. At times the ride was so excessively turbulent I was half expecting an official announcement informing us all to adopt the blooming brace position. Given the ridiculous number of ups, downs, twists, turns, thrills and spills during a quite absorbing, occasionally absurd spectacle, I reckon the golfing gods had consumed the drinks trolley and were drunk with mischief as they teased and tormented all and sundry with their outrageous meddlings. As proceedings rode to a fascinating, flabbergasting finale, you probably needed to shovel great fistfuls of Kendal mint cake down your thrapple just to sustain yourselves through the emotional, exhausting, euphoric tumult. Nothing is straightforward with Rory, is it? If he was going to win, he was going to win it in the most mind-mangling way possible, and he was going to birl us all through the metaphorical hand-cranked mangle with him. Vulnerability and sheer genius is a heady old mix. Take his third shot, for instance, on the 13th, from a mere 85 yards, which found the water. But his second shot for the ages on the 15th from 205 yards rolled to within 5 feet of the hole. What a ridiculous game this is. After all the major anguish, the near misses, sucker punches and meltdowns, McIlroy finally savoured the ultimate moment of catharsis on the 18th green in the playoff and sobbed so hard into the turf he just about left a few pitch marks. It will be another of golf's enduring iconic images from one of the game's greatest days. Those sobs must have been full of all the what-ifs, maybes, and what might have beens of major championships past, and the questions and doubts that had built up during that 11-year major drought. This wasn't just a victory, it was an exorcism. The game of golf was a winner too. This success resonated well beyond its boundaries. With the exception of Tiger Woods, McIlroy is probably the only golfer to have this far-reaching appeal. In valiant defeat, meanwhile, the magnanimity of Justin Rose underlined golf's wonderful spirit. Following a Super Saturday, which teed up a mouth-watering final round, Masters Sunday, by all giddy accounts, was going to be the best ever as those golfing deity-linked hands, the stars aligned, the lightning crackled, and everybody on the ground was reduced to crawling around on all fours in a pandemonium of worship at the prospect of what they were about to receive. Being the pessimist that I am, I was actually pessimistic about my ability to type the word pessimist correctly just there. I had a nagging feeling that the whole thing would be a crushing anticlimax, and Corey Connors would slip into the green jacket. No disrespect to Connors, of course. As an increasingly excitable world grows ever more unhinged and hysterical, it's almost impossible for such occasions to live up to the panting levels of expectation. But my goodness, Masters Sunday lived up to those expectations, and some. Things move along quickly in this game, of course. You've only got a month to wait before the next major, the United States PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. That North Carolina venue is one of McIlroy's happy hunting grounds. He's won a quartet of PGA Tour titles there, after all. 4 weeks later, there's a United States Open at Oakmont, a venue that should play into his strengths, before the bandwagon rumbles into McIlroy's own backyard of Royal Portrush for the Open. He'll be carried to the first tee there on a gold sedan chair. Already fevered observers are working themselves into a fankle about what McIlroy can go on to achieve this season as they excitedly mull over the prospect of the major championship floodgates opening. These great expectations are par for the course when it comes to all things McIlroy. At least now, though, he can march on free from the kind of burden on his shoulders that would have made the legs of Atlas buckle. It's 20 years now since a teenage McIlroy was left out of the Great Britain and Ireland Walker Cup team, despite being a rising star tipped for the very top. He was already playing in European Tour events on invitations and, as a result, missed a number of big amateur championships, which were a key part of the selection process. Peter McAvoy, the decorated amateur and celebrated former World Cup captain, was on the selection committee for the 2005 match and wrestled with the decision. He once said, "Are we doing the right thing here? We're leaving out Rory, and I think we all know what he is going to be." In a poignant twist, McAvoy passed away last week in the lead up to the Masters. He never got to see McIlroy, a talent he always championed, fulfill his destiny. The green jacket is finally hanging in McIlroy's wardrobe. "What are we all going to talk about next year?" joked the new champion, as he put an end to the will he, won't he Masters narrative that had become an annual rite of spring. "I'm sure Rory will keep giving us plenty to chew over," says Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, April 15. Incredible Scott McTominay leads Napoli push. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Scott McTominay was the star of the show as Napoli cruised to a 3-0 win over Empoli on Monday night, scoring twice and playing a pivotal role in his side's bid for the Serie A title. The Scotland international's performance highlighted his growing importance in Napoli as he delivered a near-perfect display in both defensive and offensive aspects of the game. McTominay's impact was felt across the pitch. He was flawless defensively, winning both tackles he attempted and helping to disrupt Empoli's attacking flow. In addition to his defensive solidity, McTominay's passing was top-notch, completing every long ball he attempted, 2 out of 2. His 89% pass accuracy ensured Napoli's midfield operated with precision, while his dominance in ground duels, where he won 7 out of 8, showcased his physical presence. He also made 8 recoveries, continuously breaking up Empoli's attempts to build attacks. However, it was not just McTominay's work rate and defensive contribution that caught the eye. He was clinical in front of goal, scoring twice to seal the win for Napoli. His double put his side firmly in control just after the hour mark, further bolstering Napoli's hopes of clinching another Scudetto after ending a 33-year wait in 2023. Former Manchester United teammate and current Napoli striker Romelu Lukaku also got on the scoresheet, scoring the second goal in a dominant performance against the team sitting second bottom of the Italian top division. With this victory, Napoli remain firmly in the hunt for the Serie A title, and McTominay's all-round performance continues to prove his value to Antonio Conte's squad. As the Scudetto race heats up with just 6 matches remaining, his contributions, alongside the likes of Lukaku, are helping to drive Napoli closer to another piece of silverware. For Scotland, McTominay's form in Italy remains a source of pride as he continues to impress on one of Europe's biggest stages, says Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, April 16. Starry-eyed Celtic defender reaching new heights. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Celtic defender Alistair Johnston has opened up about his development at the Scottish Champions, crediting current manager Brendan Rodgers with taking his game to another level since arriving at Parkhead. The Canadian international, who signed from CF Montreal in January 2023 under previous boss Ange Postecoglou, has established himself as a key figure in the Celtic backline. While Johnston initially adapted well to Postecoglou's system, he believes Rodgers has helped him realise his full potential. The 26-year-old right-back explained how the Northern Irish coach's tactical approach has expanded his role beyond being merely a defensive specialist. And he says, "Obviously, I came in under Ange. I was brought in to invert fullback, and I kind of hit the ground running a little bit. But I was still kind of starry-eyed a little bit, just trying to find my place. And when Rodgers came in, he kind of really unlocked me in terms of he wanted me to be that fullback that bombed up and down. Not only was I a shut-down kind of defender, but I also got up the park, and it was constantly overlapping. He saw that I had the ability to do that, and he kind of really unlocked that. Between him and John Kennedy, they've really kind of fine-tuned my game and brought me into probably my finest form that I've ever been in. That was probably at the start of the season. He's been great for me, there's no doubt about that, and I've really enjoyed playing under him, and hopefully that will continue for a long, long time." Celtic are on course to win a domestic treble this season, having already secured the Scottish League Cup in December, and they can officially be crowned Scottish Premiership champions for a fourth year running, should they avoid defeat against Dundee United. Plus there's also the small matter of a Scottish Cup semi-final against St Johnstone to come this Sunday. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, April 16. Community set to take over Dalmuir Golf Course. Report by Emily Moore. A new era for Dalmuir Golf Course is on the horizon, as the community is set to take over the facility this summer. After months of uncertainty for local golfers, Radnor Park, Overtown and Kilbowie golf clubs, along with the Clydebank seniors, have joined forces in a bid to transfer the course and its assets to their new trust. In March this year, there was an outcry of disappointment by local residents when Western Bartonshire Council pulled funding for the course, meaning it was facing closure. However, a task force headed by local MP Douglas McAllister has secured a proposal to allow for a Community Asset Transfer, CAT, which is hoped to be approved by the Council's Infrastructure, Regeneration and Economic Development Committee in May. If given the go-ahead, the course aims to transfer into new management on July 1. Paul Russell of Radnor Park Golf Club said that members had come together to try and give the course a future, and he continued, "We are doing this to keep the course. If we walked away and didn't try anything, we'd be sitting 6 months down the line with nothing. I have been a member of Radnor Park for more than 20 years, and I've played here since I was a kid. It's part of my life. There was a point in time when you could not get on this course because it was that busy. It would be devastating to see it go. It's early days, but I'm hopeful for the future. The new charitable trust is made up of club members Paul Russell and David Gatshaw of Radnor Park, Joseph Marr, Joe McGee and Gerald Smith from Overtown Golf Club, and Craig Connolly, a professional caddy and honourable member of Overtown. Gerald Smith wants to take the course back to what it was a decade ago and said, "We want to go back to what it was in the 1980s. It was booming. We had the pro shop, there was a cafe with a pool table in it, and you could get something to eat. When the council pulled the funding, Douglas got in touch with me and a few of the guys from the other clubs. Since then, we have been pushing for the asset transfer. We have registered a charity, and we are putting our finances to the council, and hopefully they accept it, and come July, we've got the course." Members of the course and MP Douglas McAllister are now reaching out for help from local residents as they prepare to make their case to the council. Mr McAllister wants to get the course to the centenary in 3 years and said, "We are confident that by improving the conditions, we will be successful with our effort to save our historic and much-loved Dalmuir golf course. It's 97 years old, and we are determined that by the time we reach its centenary, our community takeover will prove to be a huge success. This was not possible without the incredible help from West Dunbartonshire CVS and the officers of West Dunbartonshire Council." Evening Times Sport, April 16. Matthew Lindsay asks, "Why doesn't a Premiership club adopt a Scots-only player policy?" The decidedly underwhelming performance which Athletic Club Bilbao produced in the first leg of the Europa League quarter-final against Rangers at a packed Ibrox last Thursday night was far from a glowing advertisement for their unique Basque-only player policy. At no stage during an incident-packed, engrossing, unbearably tense encounter did the visitors ever look in serious danger of conceding a goal or suffering a defeat. Still, the dominant display they had been widely tipped to conjure up, and emphatic victory they had been expected to record, both failed to materialise. They were a definite disappointment. The travelling supporters who will take their seats in the San Mamés Stadium tomorrow evening will be hopeful of seeing their heroes, who will have centre-half John Souttar and midfielder Mohamed Diamond available for selection once again, pull off a famous victory in the rematch and progress to the last four of the competition. The chances are, though, they will come up against altogether different side, and the final outcome will not be quite so favourable. Athletic put their run of 3 straight goalless draws firmly behind them on Sunday, when they came from behind to beat Rayo Vallecano 3-1 in a La Liga game at home. A second-half double from fit again Oyen Sanset and a Nico Williams strike ensured they prevailed comfortably and remained firmly on course to finish 4th in the top flight and qualify for the league phase of the Champions League for just the 3rd time in their history. Rangers have done superbly away in Europe during the 24-25 campaign. They have recorded decent results on their travels against Dynamo Kiev, Malmo, Olympiacos, Nice and Fenerbahce during the past 8 months, and should not be written off by any means. Remember, they beat, albeit under a different manager and with slightly different personnel, Real Betis in Spain in their final Europa League group game last term to top their section and go into the last 16 of the competition automatically. However, onlookers can expect Ernesto Valverde's Charges, who finished second in the Europa League phase and who came from 2-1 down and defeated Roma 4-3 on aggregate in the previous round, to provide far more formidable opposition on their own turf. If they do prevail and go through to a last four double-header against either Lyon or Manchester United, it will, coupled with the domestic success which the reigning Copa del Rey champions have enjoyed this season and last, be further validation of how they continue to go about their business in 2025. Athletic Club Bilbao have only used players who hail from or were formed in the Basque Country, an area of Spain with a population of little over 2 million, since way back in 1911, and there is no prospect of them changing their approach despite the importance of finance in the modern game. Los Leones continue to grow their own. No fewer than 9 of the 11 men who started in Govan last Thursday night were developed at their renowned Lezama Academy, or featured for their farm team Baskonia or reserve side Bilbao Athletic as aspiring professionals. Goalkeeper Julian Aguirre-Zabala, centre-backs Yere Alvarez and Daniel Vivian, left-back Inigo Lecu, midfielders Inigo Ruiz de Galarreta Etxeberria and Mikel Jurreguizar, playmaker Sanset, and wingers Inaki Williams and Nico Williams all came through the ranks. Only captain and right-back Oscar de Marcos and striker Marouane Sanadi were signed and parachuted into the first team. In stark contrast, just 2 members of the Rangers team, which took to the field before kick-off, goalkeeper Liam Kelly and teenage midfielder Bailey Rice, were reared at Auchenhowie. Athletic's unwritten Cantera rule is directly linked to Basque nationalism and the belief that the ethnic group indigenous to the Western Pyrenees and scattered between Spain and France is collectively a nation. It has, in these political correct days, been described as discriminatory and xenophobic by critics. There have been calls from some quarters to outlaw it. But Athletic fans, who have a close bond with players who are very much kindred spirits to them because of their similar backgrounds, are intensely protective of how they operate. They are also, quite rightly, proud of the fact that they can still compete in one of the biggest and best leagues in the world, as well as in continental competition, without lavishing, like Barcelona, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, vast sums of money during every transfer window. They have shown that a side can still go toe-to-toe with rivals who outspend them many times over by investing heavily in youth development rather than splashing out in the transfer market and focusing on producing their own technically proficient, physically robust and mentally mature young footballers instead of striving to identify a potential foreign star. Could a Scottish club ever do the same thing and put their faith entirely in homegrown footballers? It seems about as likely as Rangers forming a guard of honour for Celtic in their meeting at Ibrox next month. But if one of the top teams in Spain, in Europe even, can do it, then why not? Most Premiership clubs have a healthy smattering of players who hail from this country. Graham Shinney, Kevin Nisbet, Callum McGregor, James Forrest, Simon Murray, Lyle Cameron, Craig Gordon, Lawrence Shanklin, James Wilson, Nicky Cadden, Lennon Miller, John Suter, and Mark O'Hara, to name just a handful, are adored by fans of Aberdeen, Dundee, Hearts, Hibs, Motherwell, Rangers and St Mirren respectively. But all of the top-flight squads have large complements from down south or overseas. Is it any wonder they face a constant struggle to break even when they rely so heavily on expensive and often mediocre imports? Further down the divisions, though, that is not so much the case. Indeed, Championship leaders Falkirk fielded 10 Scots and 1 Canadian in their meeting with third-placed Ayr United at Somerset Park on Friday evening, and the solitary Canuck was midfielder Scott Arfield, who was born and brought up in the village of Dechmont. Will Falkirk swell their ranks with foreign imports next term in a bid to survive alongside larger and wealthier rivals and avoid dropping straight back down? It would be understandable if they did so, but it would be laudable if they stuck with the same individuals who had got them up and concentrated on bringing through local talent rather than unearthing a bargain buy. Supporters love seeing their heroes bring in exotic players for big money, but if their club was to state they were only going to play Scots, it is a stance which they could understand and embrace as well. It would certainly seem to be a more responsible and sustainable way of doing business. In these tough economic times, such a left-field business model would make perfect financial sense. Athletic Club Bilbao are very much an exception to the rule in the modern game. But many countries, including England, have benefited from having homegrown players quota regulations. Perhaps then, having a limited number of marquee signings could be the way to go. A Scottish club might be pleasantly surprised of the results if they grew some cojones and dared to be different, says Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, April 16. McLeish says, I would love Ferguson to get Ibrox's job. Report by Tony Haggerty. Alex McLeish believes that Barry Ferguson can land the Rangers job permanently if he beats Athletic Bilbao in Spain. The former Light Blues manager is rooting for his one-time Ibrox skipper and interim boss to be handed the reins. Big Egg reckons that if Ferguson can steer Rangers into the Europa League semi-finals with a victory in Spain tomorrow night, he will have every chance of stepping into the hot seat. The 66-year-old insists that Ferguson will have his eyes fixed totally on the coveted prize of becoming the next Rangers manager. Said McLeish, I've kept in touch with Barry, but we have not discussed being the next Rangers manager. I think he will be thinking about it. Absolutely, yes. He knows what a chance he's got. If he can get it together for the next run of results domestically, as well as in Europe, then who knows? This is a tough game. Atletico Bilbao are great favourites. The final is at their stadium. They will come at Rangers from the off, but if Barry pulls this one off, then it's another massive feather in his cap. This game could be decisive for Barry and his chances of getting the job. There would be real prestige in winning through, as well as a financial boost for the club. He knows himself, because of his history with the club, how much this club needs to win. I have kept in touch with him through the years, and I was really pleased for him to get that position. Unfortunately, the results in the Scottish Premiership have not been what he would have wanted. He's certainly got a shift out of them in the big games, when you look at the Celtic game, and obviously the European campaign, so I would love him to get it. With the potential of a United States takeover still looming large in the background, McLeish has nothing but praise for Ferguson's audition in the role so far. Having knocked out Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce en route to the last 8 of Europe, the former Scotland manager is convinced that if Ferguson were to go one better than Walter Smith in 2008 and Giovanni van Bronckhorst in 2022 by lifting the Europa League trophy, then any prospective new owners coming into the club would have to appoint him. And he added, a lot of people would have melted just meeting Jose Mourinho, never mind Barry beating him. These results were just incredible when you think of some of the domestic results that have gone against him and the team. It was frightening, but the way Rangers have played in Europe in the last few years has been quite incredible, getting to the latter stages quite consistently. Surely if Barry wins the Europa League, he'd get it. Listen, he'll just be looking to finish the league campaign in good style. When it comes to this European tie, Bilbao will be smarting from last week. They have been savaged by their own press. Bilbao was supposed to wipe the floor with Rangers. I asked my former Aberdeen teammate Stevie Archibald if Rangers had any chance, and he said no. He said Bilbao would beat Rangers at Ibrox and in Spain. However, Rangers surprised them. I'm sure they come out with the guns blazing in their own town and stadium. If Barry pulls this one off, then it's hard to see why he cannot get the job. The Americans are coming in, and they'll have big ideas. They'll have some big names in their wee black books. Report by Tony Haggerty. Sport, April 17. Hatate has an extra incentive on Sunday for Celtic. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Rio Hatate is determined to score his first ever goal at Hampden Park when Celtic take on St Johnstone this Sunday in the Scottish Cup semi-final. Since his 2022 move from Japan's Kawasaki Frontale under Ange Postecoglou, the 27-year-old has enjoyed considerable success at the National Stadium, lifting both the Scottish and League Cup twice. Yet despite his impressive medal haul, one personal milestone has eluded him, a goal at Hampden. Hatate is keen to put that record right against the St Johnstone side, who are rooted at the bottom of the Scottish Premiership, but shocked Celtic with a 1-0 win on home soil earlier this month. While he's eager to score, he insists that Celtic's success in the Scottish Cup is his primary focus. Hatate explained, I play for the team in every game. For me, it is important to score and I do my best, but it is all about the next game. I have never scored a goal at Hampden Park, so I would like to try and score a goal in the next game. It's important to win the next game. Hatate's desire to net during the upcoming last 4 Cup showdown comes after a stellar individual performance in Celtic's 5-1 demolition of Kilmarnock last weekend, where he scored twice and provided an assist as the Hoops went another step closer to a 4th straight league title. Hatate reflected, I have good memories of Hampden Park. We won the Scottish Cup and the League Cup before, but I want to win the next match there. If we show the same play, we will win the game. I don't change my preparation for this game. I think it will be the same. With 50 appearances across all competitions this season, the Japan international has been an ever-present for Brendan Rodgers' side, scoring 10 goals and assisting 6 more. Hatate's form has been key to Celtic's continued dominance in Scottish football, and he is determined to continue his stellar run by setting up a cup final date against either Aberdeen or Hearts on May 24. Looking back on previous fixtures at Hampden, Hatate singled out one game as his standout memory, when he said, "I think the League Cup final this season stands out. We played against Rangers and it was 3-3, so we went to a penalty shootout. It was a hard game and I played the full match. A tough game. However, we won the League Cup, so I was happy." As Celtic prepare for another crucial match at Hampden, Hatate's focus is clear: achieve victory, and if possible, break his Hampden goal drought. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, April 17. Hibs/Rangers allocation for high-stakes season finale. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Hibs have become the latest Scottish Premiership club to cut away ticket allocations, with Rangers fans the latest to feel the squeeze. The Ibrox side will take just 1,500 supporters to Easter Road for the final game of the league season on May 17, a significant drop from the 3,800 tickets usually made available for trips to Leith. It is another flashpoint in the ongoing battle over away ends across the top flight, as clubs increasingly look to capitalise on surging home demand. And with Hibs flying high under manager David Gray, the scramble for seats is at fever pitch. The Edinburgh side are unbeaten in 17 Premiership outings and have not lost at home since November, with a third-place finish firmly in their sights. If the race with chasers Aberdeen and Dundee United goes the distance, the stage is set for a blockbuster finale in the capital when Rangers come calling. But it is not just the light blues who are set to be affected. Aberdeen have followed suit ahead of Hibs' trip to Pittodrie later this month, with the Dons handing Gray's side just over 700 tickets for the April 26 fixture, another sharp reduction from the norm. Hibs Chiefs, meanwhile, have responded to the clamour from their own by reclaiming parts of the South Stand typically reserved for away supporters, opening them up to home fans for the Rangers clash, as well as the visit of Dundee United on May 3. It marks the latest chapter in a trend that sparked plenty of debate across Scottish football, with clubs weighing up tradition against the realities of modern ticket demand. A Hibs statement read, "Easter Road has become a fortress this season, with Hibs winning their last 7 consecutive games in Edinburgh. We are unbeaten at home since the end of November 2024. East's incredible run of form has seen a greater demand for home tickets, with additional tickets being made available in the South Stand for our previous 2 games against St Johnstone and Dundee. As we create a raucous atmosphere for our final 2 home fixtures of the season, we have reduced our opponents' away allocations to provide more tickets to Hibs FC supporters. For both games against Dundee United and Rangers, Hibs supporters can purchase tickets for the South Stand. The High Bees have been there through thick and thin this season, and our fans have played a vital role in our fantastic run of form. As we look to end the season on a high, We know how important your support will be, and we would urge as many supporters to get to Easter Road to back David Gray and his players. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, April 17. Duncan Ferguson admits Ibrox failure was my biggest regret. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Duncan Ferguson admits his dream move to Rangers arrived too soon, and the scars of his Ibrox struggles stayed with him throughout a fiery career that would see him earn a share of the English Premier League's unwanted red card record. The former Everton and Newcastle striker was speaking on The Overlap, where he reflected candidly on his early career pressures, growing pains, and street fighting mentality that shaped his time at Rangers and beyond. There's a few red cards between us, Ferguson joked when asked about his disciplinary record. I don't like joking about it, but I got 8. The towering Scot shares the Premier League's all-time red card record with Patrick Vieira and Richard Dunn, a tally that was sealed by his infamous clash with Wigan Athletics' Pascal Chimbonda, an incident that landed him a 7-match suspension. But for Ferguson, the root of that edge lay in his struggles at Ibrox, where the weight of expectation and the glare of the spotlight proved overwhelming for a young forward still finding his feet. Ferguson, who joined Rangers under Walter Smith in 1993 from Dundee United for a then Scottish record fee of £4 million, confessed the switch came too soon for him. And he admitted, "My move to Rangers was too early for me, as I wasn't ready. There were a lot of great players at Rangers at the time, and I wanted to move from Dundee United, as I had problems with the manager and was always getting fined. I was always skint, I had nothing. I was getting fined for daft things. I'd take the manager's car as he told me to wash it, so I used to take it and drive it into a car wash. And next thing you know, there are 4 or 5 of us in the car driving around Dundee. The police would stop us. It was nuts. That's what we did." Ferguson's reputation as a streetwise, tough-tackling centre-forward would become his trademark, but at Ibrox he felt the strain of expectation. And he revealed, "There was massive pressure on me to do well at Rangers, and I felt it. I was getting terrible stick for it. I had minders everywhere I went. Whether I went to Stirling or Glasgow, I had to have people with me. I was a young guy who'd come good from a local area, so people didn't want to see me happy. They wanted a shot at me. It was tough for me, as a young lad, to walk away from a confrontation. If only I just walked away, but sometimes you get backed into a corner and you've got to come out swinging. I did that a few times. Between 17 and 19-year-old, I had 3 or 4 assaults against me." Ferguson's time at Ibrox lasted barely a year before Premier League side Everton came calling, a move that was both an escape and an admission of defeat. He says, "I was called in at Rangers and told that Everton were up and that they'd thrown my hat into the ring. I started crying my eyes out. I failed. I got my big dream move, and I failed at the end of the day." Everton were in the Premier League, which had just begun, and the daft thing is, I knew a lot of Scottish players had played for them, but they played in blue, which I liked, so I went to Everton, and that was it. I got my move to Everton. Long before his Rangers chapter, Ferguson was spotted as a teenager by Smith, then assistant to Jim McLean at Dundee United, who quickly identified the raw potential lurking beneath his lanky frame. Ferguson recalled, "There was a great man, Walter Smith. He pushed me. He was at Dundee United as an assistant at the time. He spotted that, and he said, 'Who's that big skinny kid on the left?' And it was me. He only took 15 minutes to spot me, and that's when I went up to Dundee United. But then Walter moved to Rangers under Graham Souness, so I missed Walter. Walter then became the Rangers manager, and that's when he took me to Rangers. From about 15 or 16, I started to grow taller. Nobody fancied me as a player that was going to kick on. I was slow and thin, and behind everybody else. It wasn't until I got to 17, 18 or 19 I started to fill out. The testosterone started to kick in. I had no hairs on my body until I was 18. I was a late developer, but then I kicked on a wee bit. I got a bit of pace and my man strength." Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, April 17. Petrov backs Ida and Engels to justify Celtic transfer fees. Report by Martin Macmillan. Stiliyan Petrov is confident Adam Ida and Arne Engels will more than justify their transfer fees. The pair were brought to Glasgow in the summer for a combined £19.5 million. However, some supporters remain unconvinced over the significant spend on the striker and midfielder. Celtic hero Petrov has no concerns over Ida and Engels though, as he predicted the pair to improve at Parkhead. Adam Ida has had limited game time, having first been behind Kyogo Furuhashi in the pecking order, and then Dazen Maeda emerging as first-choice central striker after his countryman departed for Rennes. For Petrov, a steady run of significant game time could be all Ida needs to seriously display his quality and potentially nail down the number 9 role. He said, "I think Adam Ida will come good. In fairness to Ida, he has not had a consistent run of games. He has not been able to settle in and have 10 to 15 games where he can show what he can do. I like Ida. I think he's got certain qualities. He's a typical number 9. He's completely different than Maeda. I believe the team plays differently when Ida is there. The other day I was talking about the difference between Dazen Maeda and Ida. What that gives to the team, especially the midfielders, and as a former midfielder myself, I love to play with a number 9 who can link up play. Ida can free some space for me because he plays closer to me, whereas Maeda is completely different. Maeda is quick. He always looks to go in behind. He never really comes close. Nobody is quicker than Maeda. That's why nobody will catch him. So with Ida, you can see him link the play with the likes of Arne Engels and Rio Hatate. They have so many opportunities because they can link up. He's always there. They can find space, and it is all about the timing of the run and getting into that space at the right time. I think Ida just needs to be patient. He just has to work hard, and if he gets a run of games, then he can show what he can do. Maybe now, with the Scottish Cup semi-final and hopefully the final, and the rest of the league games, he will get that opportunity. On Engels, Petrov added, Arne just needs time. It took me a lot of time to adapt and adjust at Celtic, but my situation was completely different. I had the opportunity to play with very experienced players, good leaders, and players who demanded the ball. The Celtic team is completely different at the moment. I had players that I could learn from, as Lubo Moravcik, Paul Lambert and Neil Lennon were there. Some players played in that position who could give me a lot of pointers and help me and push me to be competitive. At the moment, Engels and Hatate are probably the two best midfielders at Celtic, and sometimes you need more competition to push them, to encourage them to get better. I think Hatate has adapted much better in that position. He is a box-to-box midfielder. He is getting goals and getting into the right areas. Engels takes a little bit more time, but he definitely has the ability. He has shown that he can play. He is a very intelligent player, so I think he'll be a great addition to the club. Report by Martin Macmillan. Evening Times Sport, April 17. Matt O'Reilly on life after learning at Celtic. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Matt O'Reilly admits he is still adjusting to the step up in England, but insists his time at Celtic prepared him for the competitive edge that's expected at the highest level. The former Parkhead favourite swapped Glasgow's East End for the English Premier League last summer, joining Brighton and Hove Albion in a £25 million deal that matched the Scottish transfer record. The move came after a standout 2.5 years at Celtic, where O'Reilly played 124 games, scored 27 goals and supplied 35 assists, lifting 6 major honours including a domestic treble in 22-23. Now settling into life on the south coast, the 24-year-old Danish midfielder reflected on the difference in demands since making the jump. O'Reilly told The Athletic, "It is a more competitive league than in Scotland. Every game poses a different challenge, and that's great. I really enjoy that, because you need to find different solutions to be a team. I am enjoying being in the league. I am having a great time, but I still want to do better with the team." O'Reilly, who signed a 5-year deal at the Amex, has not had it all his own way during his opening season in England. His Premier League debut, delayed by a 10-week layoff after suffering ankle ligament damage on his first Brighton appearance against Crawley Town in the Carabao Cup, brought instant reward as he netted the winner against Manchester City in November. But another injury setback, this time involving fluid build-up in his knee, proved to be a more frustrating hurdle. And O'Reilly admitted that injury wasn't the most frustrating one. The most frustrating one was my knee recently after Ipswich, because I was trying to train with it, but there was so much fluid in my knee every day. It was 2 months of not playing anywhere near my best capacity. The first injury I accepted. It was a long-term injury, and I came back pretty strong and pretty healthy. Whereas that knee injury was more niggly. That has settled down, and I am grateful for a bit of rhythm. That niggle has now settled, and O'Reilly is back chasing his best form in a Brighton side, still seeking consistency under German boss Fabian Hürzeler. The Seagulls head coach recently spoke of the midfielder's struggles to string together a run of games, with O'Reilly featuring in a variety of roles, from number 10 against Crystal Palace to a deeper number 8 position during the recent league clash with Leicester. He said, "I am probably most optimal as an 8. I feel as though I can help in both aspects of the game, whether we are building up or going forward. I'm lucky to be able to run a lot as well, but I'm not somebody who's going to complain if I'm playing 6, 8 or 10. I just want to be on the pitch. Despite the challenges, O'Reilly credits his Celtic grounding for sharpening the mentality that's helped him handle the step up in quality. And he added, "Competition is always good. I am used to that here and at Celtic. We had just as many midfield at Celtic. It brings the best out of you because you need to keep your level high every day in training as well. Everyone needs to be ready." O'Reilly also revealed he remains as self-critical as ever, regularly reviewing match footage as part of his bid to improve. And he added, "I always watch my clips and see what I can do better. We go through it as a team as well, and sometimes brutally honestly, see what we could have done better. We have to do that to know how to be better for the next game." Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, April 17. Rangers go top of SWPL with dramatic comeback. Report by Alison McConnell. Kirsty Howat netted a sumptuous goal at Petershill last night before Rio Hardy completed Rangers' comeback to send Joe Potter's side top of the SWPL. It sets up an intriguing finale to the title race, with Rangers now a point better off than Hibs, whom they play in Edinburgh on Sunday, and 2 points clear of Glasgow City with 6 games to go. Said Howat, "It was some shift from every single person, and yes, I'm absolutely delighted. I'm loving my football right now. Found some form, which is nice as well. Yes, it's brilliant. You play for Rangers, you've got to put a shift in. The talent only gets you so far. Every single person and player tonight fought right to the end, and we got our reward." Eva Olid's Hearts beat Motherwell 2-0, a result that leaves them in 4th place, 2 points ahead of Celtic, who are languishing in 5th place with the defence of their title in tatters. At Petershill, City got off to the perfect start. Katie Lockwood collected on the right-hand side before picking out Nicole Kozlova at the back post. She played it into the path of Lovera, who took a touch before thumping it into the roof of the net. Rangers were all over City as they tried to find a way back into the game. Camille Lavex headed wide when it might have been easier to score, while Hardy slipped an effort just wide of the post. Still, Lockwood might have doubled City's advantage when she hit an effort just wide of the target, with Rangers fully capitalising on the reprieve. Within a minute, Howat had put them back onto level terms, a rasping effort from the edge of the box as she arched a wicked effort into the postage-stamp corner. The second period started at the same speed as the first, with Lee Gibson forced to tip away an effort from Kirsty McLean. It was a stay of execution. Hardy put the visitors in front just after the hour mark, with City culpable as they got caught trying to play the ball out from the back. Brogan Hay regained possession before supplying Hardy, who spun before driving her effort well beyond the reach of Gibson. Sophia Mata almost dug out a leveller for City before the hosts had found an equaliser 5 minutes from time. Kimberly Smith was judged to be offside, much to City's frustrations. At the bottom end of the table, Partick Thistle beat Queen's Park 1-0, Spartans beat Dundee United 1-0, and Montrose beat Aberdeen 3-2. Report by Alison McConnell. Evening Times Sport, April 17. Raskin on transfer condition to leave Rangers. Report by Mark Walker. Nico Raskin has revealed he would only consider moving to a club where he would be guaranteed to play every week. The Belgian international has been tipped to make a big money transfer from Rangers this summer to one of Europe's top 5 leagues. His performances this season saw him burst into the Belgium squad, and he featured in both of their Nations League playoff games against Ukraine last month. In an interview in his homeland, Raskin admitted he would not just accept the first offer that came his way this summer, and he said, "I've been here at Rangers for 2.5 years. It's gone very well for me, especially this season. You have to see what the club wants, what is on the table, and try to do the best for everyone. As a footballer, you always want to look ahead and see what you could do better. If you want to give yourself the best chance to compete in an international competition, you have to be able to compete at a big club. But the aim is not to go to a club where you will play less and lose that advantage you have of playing every week. It will be a balancing act for me. It is clear that good European performances are significant assets for attracting big teams. And the 24-year-old Raskin is desperate to keep his place in the Red Devils team and play a part in next year's World Cup." And he continued, "The 2026 World Cup has always been a goal since I started playing. You can ask my friends and family. I've been talking about it for a long time. I would like to be there. I will do everything to be there. It's up to me to maintain a level good enough to be selected and to perform when I'm in the national team. It was a childhood dream. I followed the Devils in every competition they played in. I tried to play my strengths, defending and winning the ball from the opponent's feet. So if I can bring my strength to Belgium, it's an honour. I have to perform every day and every week." Report by Mark Walker.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels, @Q and Review, and to tell your friends about our service.